Hello and welcome to Sports Room. I'm Anirudh Madhavan and with me is veteran journalist Ayaz Memon. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the IPL auction, the India-South Africa ODI series and the ongoing women's test between India and Australia. So Ayaz, let's start off with the IPL auction. We saw a lot of records being broken with both Mitch Starc and Pat Cummins going in excess of 20 crores each. We saw a lot of Indian uncapped players rake in the moolah like Samir Rizvi. And we also saw a team apparently buy a player they did not want to buy. I mean, there was a lot of drama. So, how do you sum up the auction? Which teams impressed you the most, and what warrants paying or spending rather around 25 crore for a player who's arguably not in his prime?
Look, I think there are two or three factors at play, and from where, if you're looking at the money paid to Mitchell Starc and to Pat Cummins, obviously they are world-renowned cricketers, and in the Indian Premier League, as we've seen in T20, bowlers have a command a big price apart from the all-rounders, and especially bowlers who are thought to be adept at bowling in the death overs, which is what Mitchell Starc's strength is. Pat Cummins bowls, wherever. He bowls well wherever he is asked to bowl. I also felt that there was a rub-off effect of what happened in the ODI World Cup, the way the Australians performed, and therefore, they were pretty much in the spotlight, top of the mind. In fact, even Travis Head, I thought he got perhaps a little less than maybe what he should have got because he's an all-rounder. He also bowls a little spin. Daryl Mitchell got a fabulous price, 14 crore. Not so much for Rachin Ravindra. I was a little surprised there, but maybe because he's young, untested in a sense, lack of experience that could have been a factor. But what I think is that remember this is for one season. All these players and more will go into the mega auction next year. So the priority was set that we have to focus on this upcoming IPL and make the most of or make the best of what we can from the talent available, which is in the mini auction. And because people still had healthy purses, remember the actual spend of all franchises has gone up. It's about 100 crore now. So compared to when it started, when it was 60, 70, 80, it's becoming progressively bigger. So I think most franchises were looking for that one pivotal figure, one key player who they could splurge on and then try and fill in all the other gaps alongside that, create a kind of a paradigm which answers all their queries. Not all are successful, of course, and they can't be successful. Now, remember, Mitchell Starc has had a checkered past in the IPL. So to Pat Cummins, actually. Mitchell Starc hasn't played since 2015. Pat Cummins missed the last season. These two guys have actually prioritized Test cricket for Australia over IPL, including even in the Big Bash, they are hardly ever seen. So for them to get in, I think for them to be willing to play this season of IPL hinges on the fact that there's a T20 World Cup coming up, and it's just prior. Is the tournament just before the World T20 starts. It's a great way to get into rhythm and fitness and form and assess yourself and iron out the wrinkles and so on. So I thought that was smart of them to enter into the fray now. Also, the other players who were there, Daryl Mitchell, and some of the others, some unfortunate guys missed out, like Jason Holder. I must mention here, Jason Holder didn't take a central contract offered by the West Indies, hoping to play more, T20 cricket in various leagues to prepare himself for the T20 World Cup, where his place is thought to be a little in a spot of bother. He's kind of excused himself from the Test series against Australia, which is going to start soon, and now he finds himself out of an IPL contract too. So sometimes this can kind of boomerang on you. But I thought really the story, apart from the 24.75 and the 20.5 crore paid to Starc and Cummins, was the amount fetched by the uncapped Indian players. And that tells you where the IPL is headed, conceptually. It's so robust. And there are people who are now looking at picking these young, talented players, putting them into the pipeline and hoping that they will stay with them. And then be there for not just for one season, but for multiple seasons. So that's really been the story. And before that, of course, there was all the drama over Hardik Pandya coming into Mumbai, joining Mumbai Indians or rejoining Mumbai Indians, and also taking over as captain. So there's a lot which has been happening on the IPL front, as you know.
So, talking of Smith Stark, we'll now move on to his wife, Alisa Healy, who's captaining the Australians against the Indians in Mumbai. So, as we're recording, India seemed to be in a really good position, and we must remember that India really easily beat England at home last week. And now, what would a win against the most dominant women's team in history do for these group of women?
No, I think, Australia has been India's nemesis. We've seen that in T20 World Cup, in the ODI World Cup, in the Commonwealth Games, wherever these two teams have met, the stumbling block for India has been Australia. So if they win this test match, and they are really in command as we speak now, it'll be a fantastic breakthrough. Not just a win statistically, but look at the psychological breakthrough. Then you compete with Australia when you play them again in whatever format as equals, if not perhaps even better. Because the manner in which this Indian team is playing against England, they thrashed England, and the way Australia, they bundled out Australia on the opening day, and then they, put themselves into a position from where I hope that they go on to win. It just, it's making for a fascinating match in itself, and it's a giant leap ahead for women's cricket, and also making a compelling demand for Indian or all women's cricket to be playing more red ball cricket. They've been stuck in this groove of more and more T20, occasionally ODIs, and red ball cricket almost nothing. So that needs to change.
So we should also talk about the India-South Africa ODI series. So India won the last game, making it 2-1 and taking the series. Sanju Samson hit 100 finally. And there were a couple of good performances from Arshdeep from India's side. And the new South African batter, Tony Dezorzi, had a couple of great innings. So how do you sum up the series and what were your takeaways from it?
Look, I think India's policy was to try out as many players as possible in the two white ball tournaments, which is the T20 before this and then the ODI. And because, the transfer from T20 to ODI and ODI to T20 is far easier than from T20 to Test and Test to T20. Unless, you're a player of the caliber of a Jadeja, Rohit Sharma, or a Virat Kohli or a Jasprit Bumrah, then the transfer is easy, or maybe even Mohammad Shami in today's day and age. But I think there's one eye on the T20 World Cup, and then obviously now there's going to be the Test series coming up. So I think India has done very creditably in the ODI, in the T20 series in white ball cricket, because uh, in both these series there was a threat, there was a danger that we might end up losing the series. It didn't happen. In the T20 series, we won the third game to level the series, and here we, after South Africa drew level, we went on to win the series by winning the final match. So I think overall the Indians should be pleased with what they've achieved, and especially the form of players like Sanju Samson, who we've discussed a few times earlier as to why he can't get the big knocks on the big occasion, but he's got 100 now. So it'll fill him with a lot of joy and all his fans, and obviously it opens up a whole new vista for him, Sanju Samson himself, and for the selectors to explore for the white ball tournaments that lie ahead. Arshdeep Singh, I think, has come back strongly in this series. He was struggling a bit, as we know, before India went to South Africa, but he's come back very strongly, and he's put himself back into contention, at least for the T20. I think Dravid and the support staff, the bowling coach, and the selectors right now will be looking at a cluster of about 25, 30 players from which to narrow down as we go ahead towards the IPL, and as the IPL is played, to narrow down from there, from 30, to get to a squad of 15, 16, which is what we'll need for the T20. So all these guys need to keep performing consistently. And I thought that a lot of these young players have done extremely well, like Rinku Singh, who just hardened his own case for being part of the Indian team, and so many others. I mean, there have been so many players tried out: Ruturaj Gaikwad, Arshdeep Singh, and so on. So I think it's been a very fruitful white ball series, T20 and ODIs for India.
So looking ahead, as you were saying, we have the Test series against South Africa. Now, I think I've asked you this before, but India have never won a Test series in South Africa. So, do you think this is India's best chance to do so? And what are you looking forward to from the series? Because we don't have Pujara and Rahane anymore.
So, Anirudh, I mean, it's always the best chance when you've never won earlier. You've never beaten a team in their own backyard, so to speak. So when you go there the next time, it's obviously your best chance. Uh, but it's not your last chance. However, having said that, let me just say that, India, the last cycle of the WTC, if you remember, the 21 to 23 cycle, India did extremely well. We didn't win the title, Australia won the title, but we did well to reach the final. And it all started with doing well at the, you start well and then you finish well. Last time also it had started, I think, if I remember correctly, it started with a series in England where we uh, won a couple of matches, and then we lost a couple of matches to South Africa, and then it was a bit of a stutter, and then became a bit of a scramble to reach the final. We did that, but South Africa kind of offered a reality check then. Is that a situation now? Is that a threat? Yes, most certainly it is. While India's team is very good, we've had the previous two matches against West Indies, we won one and one was drawn. But West Indies is not a force in Test cricket, as we know. South Africa, when they are playing in India, they are not a threat. But when they are playing on their own pitches, and they really become a formidable side. So India have to be on their guard. And then there's, I think the richness of Indian cricket is there in the Test side. There's Rohit Sharma, there's Virat Kohli, there's no Pujara, there's no Rahane, so you have to have some cover up there. But Rahul is back in form, and some of the youngsters are doing well. Shreyas Iyer has a chance to prove himself overseas. So too, somebody like a Shubman Gill, who'll have a lot of the spotlight trained on him. Jadeja, Bumrah, it's a team which is looking strong. Yes, Shami is missing, so that's a bit of a setback. But overall, when you look at the two teams, I think India look very strong on paper. Now, how they translate that strength on the field in South Africa against South Africans who will obviously prepare pitches which will suit and help them and their bowlers. So that really is the challenge for India. But they must remember, I think, and nobody will have forgotten, that the last time we won the first match there and still we went on to lose the test series. So this time there are only two test matches, and you win both. You win matches overseas, you get points which matter towards progressing in the WTC on the WTC circuit, and that's what India needs to do.
Moving on from cricket, there is another important issue that we need to talk about. The WFI elections, Wrestling Federation of India elections happened, and Brij Bhushan Singh's friend, who was the nominee, Sanjay Singh, won easily, and I think that was expected from many quarters. But you saw the reaction to that in that Vinesh Fogart broke down, and Sakshi Malik, in quite dramatic fashion, said she's quitting the sport with her boots on the table. So, what does this whole episode tell you about how sports is administered in India?
I mean, look, it's whichever way you look at it, it's a very unfortunate, very tragic development. Actually, you've got some of your best wrestling athletes, the best wrestlers, Sakshi, who's an Olympic medalist, Vinesh Fogart, who's won multiple medals in various competitions, and you got Bajrang Punia, who's also been a stellar performer, and all of them, reduced to tears, leaving Sakshi resigned in anguish. It's melodramatic or dramatic. That's the way you want to, whichever way you want to see it. But it's a blow to the prestige of the sport, and I think it could. And look, at the end of the day, it was an election, and the election has been won by somebody else. So yes, in that to that extent, one must say that you have to bite the bullet. That's what the results that have been thrown up. But the manner in which this whole episode has been played out over so many months has been quite sordid. From the allegations that were made to the the kind of procedure that was followed to find out what exactly happened, the police FIR not being lodged in time, it's just taking an eternity to get complaints lodged, the wrestlers being out on the roads, sleeping there, making, staging a dharna and so on, leading up to the matter going up to the judiciary. And at the end of the day, what do you get? I'm not saying that, if the election has been won, it should not be won and why did this person won? That's not my point. But I'm saying that enough has the issue been addressed adequately? We'll have to wait and see how the new federation, which has just come into place, they'll take a little while, or maybe not too much while. If I go by what has been made, the announcements made, they want to have the under 15 and under 17 tournaments straight away, which is fine. What I didn't like also is a sense of, if you've seen uh, the statements in press meets he's given post the elections, though he's not the elected president, but his, one of his party or one of his group members has won. But there's a sense of triumphalism, which is, or even you can even smell arrogance, and that's something that disappoints me. If the whole issue is that, see, I showed you, I taught you a lesson, then I think that perhaps it just throws a really unfortunate spin on the entire drama that has been played, that this whole controversy as it has played out.
Yes, I think you hit the nail on the head with the term unfortunate, because we keep seeing this happening, and we just hope that the focus stays on the mat, in the ring, or on the field, whichever sport you take, and administrators can stay in the background and help the youngsters perform. But this sadly doesn't seem to be an issue that will go away soon, but we can only hope for it. So that's it for this episode of Sports Room. See you next time.